There is something gentle happening in me today as I sit before God and allow my heart to breathe. I've read so many verses about tithing, giving, generosity, offerings. I've listened to debates, I've heard teachings, I've seen people wrestle with doctrines for centuries. But now as I sit here, I begin to sense something softer, something deeper. It was never truly about a rule or a percentage or a system. I close my eyes, and in this stillness, I feel Him drawing me back into the beginning, back into His heart. I think of the Old Testament, where God first taught His people, Israel, about tithing and offerings. For so long, I used to see those commands as requirements, as duties to be performed. But now I realize He wasn't just giving them instructions. He was shaping their hearts. He was introducing them to His nature. When He said, "Bring the first fruits, bring the tithe," He wasn't asking because He needed it. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He formed the rivers, the stars, the soil beneath their feet. He wasn't lacking anything. He was teaching them trust. He was teaching them love. He was teaching them to recognize, open quote, "Everything you hold in your hand came from my hand first." Close quote. The tithe was holy because it was set apart, not for ritual, but for remembrance. Every time they brought the first fruits of their fields, every time they gathered grain, oil, and wine, it was a whisper to their hearts. I am your source. I am your provider. I am your shepherd. And there was more. There was a story hidden inside the tithes. I begin to see the threefold rhythm God gave them. There was the tithe for the Levites, because these priests had no land, no inheritance, no field to harvest. God Himself was their inheritance. And so He invited the rest of Israel to provide for them. It wasn't about privilege, it was about oneness. It was a picture of family, of shared life, of becoming one body under one covenant. Then there was the tithe for the feasts to celebrate God's goodness in Jerusalem. They would travel, gather, eat, and rejoice together before the Lord. Giving here wasn't loss. It was overflow. God was teaching them that His kingdom isn't about scarcity, but about joy in His presence. And then there was the tithe for the poor, the widow, the orphan, and the sojourner. Every 3 years they were called to set aside what they had to make room for those who had nothing. It was as though God was saying, "You are blessed, so you can be a blessing." I sit with this, and I see it clearer now. Even in these ancient instructions, God was revealing His heart. It was never about money. It was never about the system. It was always about love. Giving was never meant to be mechanical. It was meant to be relational. It was God saying, "Come into my nature, learn how I love, learn how I care, learn how I give." And yet I realized something else too. All of this was a shadow, a foreshadowing of something far greater. Because when Jesus came, He didn't cancel these truths. He fulfilled them. I pause here because this part touches something deep in me. Everything God had taught Israel through tithes, offerings, feasts, and priesthood was pointing forward to a person, forward to Jesus, forward to the giver Himself becoming the gift. And when Jesus came, He became the first fruits. He became the offering. He became the high priest. He became the temple. I breathe that in slowly, and suddenly everything shifts inside me. The temple where the Levites once served, that was a shadow of Christ who now dwells within me. The feasts they celebrated, there were glimpses of the joy I now taste in His presence. The tithe for the poor, that was always His heart, that His compassion would flow through me to others, not as obligation but as love. And now here in the new covenant, I finally understand. I am no longer giving to meet a law. I am no longer giving to unlock blessings. I give because I have already received everything. I realize that even the seed in my hand is not mine. The faith to sow it is not mine. The heart that moves me to act is not mine. It is Him, in me, through me, as me. When I give, it is God giving. When I love, it is God loving. When I show compassion, it is God expressing Himself through me. And that changes everything, because now giving is not about control or fear or formula. It is freedom. It is joy. It is union. And yet I see something deeper still. The law of sowing and reaping still remains. Even unbelievers benefit from it because God wove it into creation itself. But for me as a child of God, He calls me higher than this law. I don't give to reap temporary rewards. I give because I am sowing into eternity. Every act of generosity plants something eternal in me. Every moment I reflect His heart forms His nature deeper within me. Every time I release, I become more like my Father. And suddenly it's so clear. This was never about the tithe. This was never about the percentage. This was never about proving my devotion through performance. It was always about becoming. It is God's nature I am gaining. It is God's heart I am learning to carry. It is God's generosity I am being transformed into. And once you taste this, everything changes.